In the presidency, the meeting between the head of state and the Djibouti-Ethiopia Joint Commissions polar vortex could cause several deaths across United States of America. Welcome to our newsroom. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, has received today, Thursday, mid-morning at the Presidential Palace. The high-level Ethiopian delegation is participating in the work of the 15th Joint Commission between our country and the Republic Democratic and Federal of Ethiopia. During this hearing, the head of state and the member of the Ethiopian delegation is including, among others, composed of 11 ministers, discussed together the working team selected for the 15th Joint Commissions and the agreement on which they are based have come out. In this connection, President Gele, who has made recommendations for the intensification of the pace of cooperation and economic integration between the two countries, welcomed the fact that the topics dealt with in these important sessions between the two nations received a clear answer accompanied by a precise protocol of application. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mohamed Ali Yusuf, the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of Industry, Ilyas Musa Dawale, the Minister of Budget, Bodi Ahmed Roble, the Minister of Employment, Head of Administration's Reform, Hassan Idris Samriye, the Minister of Muslim Affairs, Hassan Barre, and Ministers of Energy, Natural Resources, Yonis Ali Geddi took part in this meeting. Not also the participations in this hearing of the Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the Democratic Federal Republic of Ethiopia, Mr. Muhammad Idris Farah, and the Secretary General of the Presidency, Mr. Muhammad Abdullahi Waisa. The high-level Ethiopian delegation received by the President of the Republic was led by the Ethiopian Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Workne Gebeyu. After the meeting with the Djiboutian President, Ismail Margele, the Ethiopian Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Worknet Gebeyu, stressed on the importance point for discussed with the President and the contents of the cooperation agreement signed this morning following the closing of work of the 15th Ethiopian Djibouti Joint Ministerial Commission.
One of the biggest delegation I have ever led as a Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, and also I'm very happy this delegation is headed to Djibouti, and we are working extensively upon our issues, our common issues. After we conclude this joint commission with my brother Mahmoud, really we discussed upon political issues, security issue, most importantly our people-to-people relationship, the Ethiopians who are living here. Most of the issues that I can tell you with satisfaction that we have most of the issue we have resolved. Ethiopia and Djibouti relationship is an example with purpose, with practice to Africa. We are the countries which connected by railway. This is rare in Africa. We have a very strong people-to-people relationship. So this joint commission meeting will bring to the upper height this relationship practically. So we have resolved most of the issues. We reported what we have discussed to Excellency the President, and the President has given a direction, and I'm going to report to my Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed. So when they meet in Addis Ababa, they consolidate it more, and this relationship, this bilateral relationship is going to be a shining bilateral relationship.
For his part, the Djiboutian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Mr. Mohamed Ali Yusuf said with the President was important considering the degrees of cooperation between the two countries whose economies are interdependent. Listen to the Minister.
Essentiellement discuter.
The issue that must bring the two countries closer together are economic integration and maximizing infrastructure performance. Relations between Ethiopia and our country are extremely important For both countries, the Ogaden gas pipeline has to be imported into the port of Djibouti, and we have had a lot of discussion about that fact that the intergovernmental agreement on which we have come a long way. In the coming weeks, this agreement have to be signed with an investment of $4 billion.
The ministerial meetings of the 50th Joint Djibouti-Ethiopia Commission is closed this morning in the conference rooms of the Diplomatic Institute. Listen to this report.
Meeting of the 15th Joint Djibouti-Ethiopian Commission ended this morning in the conference hall of the Diplomatic Institute with intense discussion conducted in a serene and constructive manner on all aspects of cooperation, as well political and social than economic and commercial, that exist between our two countries.
We had fruitful discussions, deliberations on issues of utmost importance to our peoples. Our meeting afforded us the opportunity to review the bilateral agreements our two countries have signed on various fields. I very much appreciate the level of frank and open discussion conducted between our respective delegation members' teams, reflective of the close friendship that the two countries enjoy for years.
As Djiboutians, we believe we cannot ourselves develop, stand without the regional neighboring countries. And when it comes to regional neighbors, we are mainly talking at this point of time Ethiopia. I think the same is valid from the other side. We had very good discussions during the last days at expert level as well as at ministerial level. But we used to always repeat, it's now almost 8 years as a minister we are dealing with in our relations. And things are very much improving. We went from one major infrastructure linking our two countries to almost $10 billion investment binding all the two countries together.
As we pinpointed again and again, the wisdom and far-sightedness lies in the implementation of what we decide at the highest level. Whatever inspiring the minutes of the agreements could be, without a proper mechanism of implementation and then assessment and evaluation, for sure we will not reach the goals of genuine integration and efficient cooperation. Yes, the political will is there for more and more interaction, better people-to-people exchanges, and constructive planning strategy in the whole process.
Once the speech ended, the two heads of delegations signed the protocol of agreement. This agreement once again highlighted the need to accelerate the implementation of these agreements to further strengthen the links between the two countries.
Then,
Under the chairmanship of His Excellency Mohammed Ali Mohammed, President of the National Assembly, in accordance with the Rule 22, Paragraph 1 and 2, the rules procedures of the sessions, the 56th sessions of the second ordinary sessions of the Parliament in the year 2019, the 8th legislature took place on Thursday, 31 January 2018 in the hemicycle. This session was attended by Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Khan Mohammed, Member of Government, and all parliamentarians. It had for the agenda the examinations of 6 bills admitted, namely Bill number 22, ratifications on the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area, tabled in Parliament on 11 July 2018, the Bill number 33, the adoption of the national systems of standardization of quality promotion, the bill number 35, ratifications on the financing agreement for the project on the road towards zero stunting, the bill number 35, 6, ratifications on the loan agreement for the integrate upgrading project in the Republic of Djibouti, closing speech of the second ordinary sessions of the President of the Parliament of the year, the President of National Assembly, Mohammed Ali Mohammed, the President of the delivered his traditional closing speech in which he highlighted the various activities carried out during the first months of work in committee and plenary sessions. In fact, the head of the national chambers has returned to the various achievements of the Parliament, including the closures of the budget session, the various information seminars on the fight against corruption, the one dedicated to public policy, the analysis of the state budget and those concerning food and nutritional security. To mention the President of the National Assembly underscored the particular commitment of the presentation. He has delivered his traditional closing speech in which he highlighted the various activities carried out during the first months of work in committee and the plenary sessions. Indeed, the head of the national chambers has returned to the various achievements of the Parliament, including the closures of the budget session. The Minister of Health has chaired this morning a workshop to launch national exercises to update the list of drug and essential materials for care structures of the 3 levels of the health pyramid. This ceremony, which took place at the People's Palace, so the participation is of the technical and financial partners, the heads of the country's health structures, and the senior staff of the health department. This list of health products is
Health chaired this morning a workshop to launch a national exercise to update the list of drugs and essential materials for care structure of the 3 levels of the health pyramid. The ceremony, which took place at the People's Palace, saw the participation of all the technical and financial partners, the heads of the country's health structures, and the senior staff of health department. This list of health products is a strategy tool for effective acquisition planning. It is guided by the national guidelines for the management of the most common pathology and will, at each level of the health pyramid, have a selection of medical products. It seems from the need to rationalize the selection, use, and cost of medicines in our countries. We want to put in place a parallel system of healthcare for both refugee and Djiboutian population in order for the population that live in the refugee camp to be able to use the same equipment and medicines for all wellness. In her speech, the representative of UNICEF, Mrs. Janabu Mahoude, thanked the government through the Ministry of Health, which paid particular attention to the improvement of the population and especially the health of the children. The representative of World Bank, Mr. Atou Sek, stressed the importance of the revision of the list of drugs, which will ensure a consideration of the priorities of the Ministry of Health. The WHO representative, Dr. Ahmed Zweit, and explained at depth that essential medicines are those that meet the priority needs of the population and must be available to all and at all levels.
In his opening speech, the Minister of Health urged all prescribers to participate actively in the work so that in fine the investment made are translated into quality gain in the care of our populations. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, has sponsored today the launch ceremony of validations workshop of the National Strategy of Preschool Education. This ceremony took place in Kapeski Palace, so the participation of the Ministers of Muslim Affairs, Mr. Momin Hassan Barre, the Minister of Women and Family, Ms. Moumina Ahmed Hassan, as well as the representative of UNICEF in Djibouti, Ms. Janabu Mahoude, Djiboutians and international experts, numerous officials, head of the relevant ministerial department, and UNICEF officials take part in this workshop. In his opening remark, the Minister of National Education Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, recalled that this department had launched a large study on the development of the preschools in our country with the assistance of UNICEF. This study resulted in a diagnostic report validated at previous workshop and which led to the development of the national strategy for preschool education, which will cover all the educational activity carried out at the national level in this file. Remarks shared by the Muslims, Azafar Cultures Ministers and the Minister of Women and Family, both of whom have emphasized the importance on this national preschool strategy, which complement the parents and prepare toddlers for more successful schooling. For her part, the Minister of Women and Family, Mumin Ahmed Hassan, has emphasized in her speech that this kind of meeting is important to boost the confidence of the role that can play the education in our society. The Minister of Culture, Mr. Mumin Hassan Barry, has stressed in the importance of education in the daily life. This national preschool strategy, which complements the parents and prepares toddlers for a more successful schooling, he concluded. In his opening remark, the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, recalled that his department had launched a large studies on development of preschools in our country with the assistance of UNICEF. These studies result in a diagnostic report validated at a previous workshop and which led to the development of national strategy for preschool education, which will cover all the educational activities carried out at the national level in this file. A drama at sea in the day of Tuesday, such a boat causes nearly 15 deaths in the sectors of Godoria in the region of Obok. 50 people were enough, according to the first information is obtained from the local authorities. Obok two boats had left Tuesday Godoria of illegal immigrants to Arab countries and Yemen. The exact numbers of illegal migrants around these two boats is unknown. The first boat with 113 has released a belt of 30 minutes after Godoria and overboarded at sea. The second ring is already falling. 15 bodies have been rescued and 15 survivors have been found, and we are still looking for 17 stowaways for the first boat, helping always on foot. The Obok region is armed forces, guards, and the gendarmerie, and the Navy policies and the local authorities, including the prefect of Obok, were in the Sinki area, Godoria, to the help. According to the last information, the second boat is missing. Following this tragedy at sea, yesterday in Godoria, the prefect of Obok, Mr. Hassan Dabale, he said that all the administrative and military authorities are in action on the sectors to help the shipwrecks and collect the bodies at sea. For the international scenes, we have in Brazil at least 99 deaths and 215 missing. The balance sheet of the mining disasters in Brazil is getting heavier. Listen to the report.
The collapse of a mining dam in the Brazilian state of Minas Gerais is one of the biggest environmental disasters in the country's history. Apocalyptic images of communities swallowed by mud and a river flooded by mining waste have shocked a population that has become hardened to tragedy. Between 14 or 16 cubic meters of the water and sedimental formation are extravagance receded down a mountainside more than open cast mine operated by Samarco, a joint venture between Billiton and Vale, causing that the two further collapse, one of which ruptures during the accident suggests the unfolding tragedy may yet worsen.
Historic cold wave in the United States. Chicago is still living these Thursdays in a cold polar with temperatures near 13 degrees. Listen to the report.
Have died due to plummeting temperatures that have plugged the country down to minus 40 degrees Celsius this week, causing May across the nation. Part of the U.S. are facing temperatures colder than Antarctica as a polar vortex sweeps over the country and has claimed victims in Detroit, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa. The Arctic wind caused the weather to plummet the life-threatening temperatures across the U.S. Midwest yesterday. Cities in the region have been forced to shut down as U.S. officials has urged the public to stay indoors. The University of Iowa released a statement says one of its students, Gerald Bales, was found dead on campus due to harsh temperatures.
This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.